Are royal titles losing their significance? As King Charles III reshapes the monarchy and Prince William's influence grows, the status of Lady Louise Windsor and James, Earl of Wessex, is under scrutiny. Their parents once kept them out of the royal spotlight, but will they now take on official roles? Does this decision mark a shift in the monarchy's structure? And what does it mean for the future of royal titles? Let's get into intriguing details. For years, the British royal family has walked a delicate line between tradition and modern expectations. Titles are more than just ceremonial. They carry weight, privilege, and responsibility. Historically, the process of bestowing them has been guided by strict royal protocol. However, as times change, so too does the role of the monarchy. The recent title adjustments for Lady Louise and James are not just minor royal updates. They signal a shift in the very framework of the institution. The decision approved by His Majesty King Charles III recognizes Lady Louise and James as more prominent figures within the royal family. While neither had previously held the title of His or Her Royal Highness, HRH, this move places them closer to the inner workings of the monarchy. The change has reignited debates over who should hold royal titles, how the family adapts to modern challenges, and whether this signals a broader strategy for the next generation of royals. At the heart of this decision lies the long-debated issue of the slimmed-down monarchy. King Charles III, long before ascending to the throne, had made it clear that he envisioned a streamlined royal family, with only the most senior members taking on key responsibilities. This plan had been evident in various decisions over the past few years, particularly in the handling of royal titles. His reluctance to extend HRH status to younger royals outside the direct line of succession was a significant part of this strategy. However, with this new adjustment, Prince William seems to be steering the monarchy in a slightly different direction. Royal experts believe that this decision was not made lightly. Prince William, as the heir to the throne, is already carrying a significant share of royal duties as King Charles III navigates health concerns and an increasingly demanding schedule. With the departure of Prince Harry and Meghan Markle from royal responsibilities, and the aging of senior royals like Princess Anne and Prince Edward, there are growing concerns about the future of the working monarchy. By officially acknowledging Lady Louise and James in a more formal capacity, William is ensuring that the royal family remains stable and prepared for the coming decades. The response to this move has been mixed. Some see it as a practical step in reinforcing the monarchy, ensuring that there are capable young royals to support future duties. Others argue that it contradicts the long-held vision of a leaner, more cost-efficient royal structure. Regardless of opinion, one fact remains clear. This decision marks a notable shift in royal strategy. To fully understand the weight of this change, it is important to revisit why Lady Louise and James were not granted HRH status at birth. The origins of this decision date back to a set of royal guidelines established over a century ago. In 1917, King George V issued the Letters Patent, a decree that outlined who could hold the title of His or Her Royal Highness. Under this rule, HRH status was automatically given only to the children and grandchildren of the reigning monarch in the male line. This meant that when Lady Louise was born in 2003 and James in 2007, they were eligible for the title. Yet their parents, Prince Edward and Sophie, Duchess of Edinburgh, chose otherwise. The decision was a deliberate one. Unlike their cousins who were born into high public visibility, Lady Louise and James were raised with a greater emphasis on privacy. Their parents, understanding the intense scrutiny that comes with being a working royal, wanted to provide them with the opportunity to lead a more normal life. By declining the HRH titles at birth, they ensured that their children would not be obligated to fulfill royal duties unless they chose to do so in adulthood. Lady Louise and James's relatively low-profile upbringing stood in stark contrast to that of their cousins, Prince George, Princess Charlotte, and Prince Louis, who are directly in line to the throne. While they made occasional appearances at royal events, their lives were largely shielded from the media. Lady Louise in particular was known to have a special bond with her late grandfather, Prince Philip, and was often seen accompanying him in carriage driving, one of his lifelong passions. James, though even more reserved, has quietly followed in his father's footsteps, embodying a sense of duty and composure even in his limited public engagements. But now, as the royal landscape evolves, it appears that their era of quiet discretion is coming to an end. With the recent title adjustment, Buckingham Palace's statement made it clear: Lady Louise and James are being recognized as integral members of the royal family. This decision paves the way for their increased involvement in royal duties, potentially setting the stage for a more prominent role in the coming years. What is particularly interesting about this move is how it aligns with a growing need for additional working royals. The departure of Prince Harry and Meghan Markle created gaps within the family's public engagements, while the advancing age of key figures like Princess Anne and Prince Edward raises questions about the sustainability of the monarchy's workload. By positioning Lady Louise and James closer to the center of royal affairs, Prince William is ensuring that the next generation is prepared to take on responsibilities when the time comes. This adjustment also raises important questions about the future of royal titles. For years, it was assumed that only the direct line of succession, King Charles III, Prince William, and Prince George, would carry the bulk of royal responsibilities. However, this move suggests that the royal family may be reconsidering its stance. As King Charles III continues to navigate his reign, will more younger royals be brought into the fold? Or is this a unique decision tailored specifically to Lady Louise and James? The shift is also notable in light of how title distribution has been handled for other members of the family. The question of whether Prince Harry and Meghan Markle's children, Prince Archie and Princess Lilibet, should have HRH status was a topic of much debate. The titles were eventually acknowledged, but the couple's decision to step back from royal duties meant that their children would not be raised in the royal spotlight. This contrast highlights the complexities of title inheritance and the different paths chosen by members of the royal family. For Lady Louise and James, their future within the monarchy remains an open question. While they now hold formal recognition, whether they will take on full-time royal duties is yet to be seen. Their parents have always emphasized the importance of personal choice in their children's futures. And as they approach adulthood, they may have a say in how they navigate their roles. However, given the strategic nature of this recent decision, it seems likely that they will at least take on some level of public service in the years to come. As Buckingham Palace adjusts to this new reality, speculation continues to mount about what this means for the long-term structure of the monarchy. Will this adjustment mark the beginning of a broader shift in how titles are granted? Could this be a sign that Prince William is preparing for an even larger role in reshaping the monarchy's future? These are the questions that royal watchers and experts are now asking, as the British royal family once again finds itself at a crossroads. For over a century, the British monarchy has relied on strict guidelines to determine royal titles, a system deeply rooted in tradition and historical precedent. The decision to withhold his or her Royal Highness status from Lady Louise Windsor and James, Earl of Wessex at birth, was not a mere oversight, but rather a reflection of changing royal priorities. To fully grasp the weight of this decision, one must look back at how royal titles have traditionally been granted, and how King Charles III's vision for a streamlined monarchy has influenced the evolving structure of the royal family. In the early 20th century, King George V issued a royal decree known as the Letters Patent of 1917, which outlined the rules for distributing HRH titles. Under this decree, only the children of the reigning monarch, the children of the monarch's sons, and the oldest living son of the eldest son of the Prince of Wales were automatically entitled to HRH status. At the time, this decision was meant to prevent an excessive number of royals from holding official titles, ensuring that the highest-ranking members of the family remained at the forefront of public life. The implications of the letters patent were far-reaching. While it solidified the structure of royal titles for generations, it also led to ambiguity in certain cases. For example, when Queen Elizabeth II took the throne in 1952, her younger children, Prince Andrew and Prince Edward, were automatically granted HRH status. However, their future children did not immediately qualify unless the reigning monarch issued an update to the decree. This is exactly what happened in 2012, when Queen Elizabeth II amended the letters patent to ensure that all children of Prince William, the future heir, would be granted HRH status at birth. This change was significant because, under the original decree, only Prince George would have been entitled to the title, while Princess Charlotte and Prince Louis would not. Yet, despite this amendment, no such change was made for the children of Prince Edward. This meant that, under the original decree, Lady Louise Windsor and James, Earl of Wessex, were technically eligible for HRH status, but their parents chose not to use it. At the time, Prince Edward and Sophie, Duchess of Edinburgh, expressed their desire to give their children as normal an upbringing as possible, free from the intense media scrutiny that had followed other young royals. Instead of HRH titles, their children were styled as the children of an earl, Lady Louise and Viscount Severn, the courtesy title given to James at birth. The decision to forego HRH status was part of a broader shift within the royal family. By the early 2000s, there was growing discussion about reducing the number of royals who actively performed public duties. The British monarchy, unlike in previous centuries, no longer functioned as an expansive institution where every member of the family held a formal role. Instead, a smaller, more focused working monarchy was being developed, a vision that was most notably championed by King Charles III. Even before ascending the throne, Charles had made it clear that he believed in a streamlined monarchy, one in which only the most senior royals would serve in an official capacity. This belief was not simply a personal preference, but also a reflection of changing public sentiment. As Britain entered the 21st century, there was increasing scrutiny over royal expenditures and the necessity of maintaining a large number of royals on the taxpayer-funded civil list, a system that was later reformed into the sovereign grant. The idea of a monarchy limited to key figures such as the monarch, the heir, and their immediate families gained traction. Charles's vision became particularly evident after the passing of Prince Philip in 2021 and the subsequent ascension of Charles to the throne in 2022. By this point, the number of senior working royals had already been reduced, either through personal decisions or unforeseen circumstances. Prince Harry and Meghan Markle's departure from royal duties in 2020 left a noticeable gap, removing two prominent figures from the monarchy's public engagements. Additionally, the advancing age of senior royals such as Princess Anne, Prince Edward, and the Duke and Duchess of Gloucester raised concerns about the long-term sustainability of the institution. King Charles III's reluctance to extend HRH status to additional members of the family aligned with his broader goal of modernizing the monarchy. This was evident in his approach to the Duke of Edinburgh title, a prestigious title previously held by Prince Philip. While it had long been expected that Prince Edward would inherit the title following his father's passing, Charles initially delayed the decision, reportedly due to his concerns about maintaining a smaller royal family. After months of speculation, the title was finally granted to Prince Edward in March 2023, but with one major caveat: unlike previous royal dukedoms, this title would not pass to Edward's son, James, Earl of Wessex. Instead, upon Edward's passing, the title would revert to the crown, allowing the reigning monarch to decide its future holder. This decision was a significant departure from previous royal title traditions. Historically, hereditary titles were passed down through generations, ensuring continuity within aristocratic families. By making the Duke of Edinburgh title non-hereditary, Charles signaled that he was committed to maintaining a system in which only the most essential members of the royal family held official titles. Some royal experts speculated that this change was made to keep the title available for a future member of the direct line of succession, possibly Prince Louis, the youngest son of Prince William and Catherine, Princess of Wales. Others saw it as an indication that the monarchy would continue to evolve under Charles's reign, with titles being granted on a more selective basis. The implications of these changes extend beyond just James, Earl of Wessex. If future monarchs continue this approach, it could mean that fewer younger royals will receive HRH status unless they are directly in line for the throne. This would further reinforce the idea that the monarchy is shifting towards a model where the core working members are limited to the sovereign, the heir, and their immediate families. For Lady Louise and James, the question remains whether they will choose to adopt HRH status in the future. While it is unlikely that such a decision would be made without the support of the reigning monarch, the precedent exists for royal titles to be granted at a later stage in life. For example, Prince Edward himself was originally styled as Prince Edward, but became the Earl of Wessex upon his marriage in 1999. Similarly, Prince William and Prince Harry did not receive their dukedoms until their respective weddings. As James approaches adulthood, speculation continues over whether he will eventually take on an official royal role. Unlike his cousins, who were raised with the expectation of royal service, James has largely been kept out of the public eye, appearing only occasionally at major royal events. His parents have always maintained that the decision to use an HRH title, should he wish to do so, would ultimately be his own when he turns 18 in December 2025. Whether or not James and Lady Louise choose to take on formal roles in the monarchy, one thing is clear: the royal family is undergoing a transformation. King Charles III's emphasis on a smaller working monarchy, combined with Prince William's growing influence in shaping the next generation, suggests that future decisions regarding royal titles will continue to be carefully managed. As the monarchy adapts to the changing times, each adjustment made will play a role in determining how the institution remains relevant in the years to come. As the monarchy continues to evolve under King Charles III, attention is turned toward the younger generation of royals who may one day play a more significant role. While Prince George, Princess Charlotte, and Prince Louis are the most visible among them, Lady Louise Windsor and James, Earl of Wessex, remain somewhat under the radar. Their relatively private upbringing has set them apart from their royal cousins, yet their connection to the crown remains undeniable. The recent discussions about their titles have only reinforced the question: what role, if any, will they have in the monarchy's future? Lady Louise Windsor has often been described as one of the most grounded members of the royal family. Born in November 2003, she was the first child of Prince Edward and Sophie, now the Duke and Duchess of Edinburgh. Unlike many other royal children, Louise spent her early years largely out of the public eye. Her parents were determined to ensure she had as normal a childhood as possible, which is why she was not given an HRH title at birth. Instead, she grew up as Lady Louise, attending St. George's School in Windsor and later St. Mary's School, Ascot. Despite her relatively low profile, Lady Louise has occasionally stepped into the spotlight, particularly during family events. One of the most well-known aspects of her life is her close relationship with her late grandfather, Prince Philip. It was through him that she developed a passion for carriage driving, a sport he had championed for decades. Louise has been seen competing in carriage driving events and even inherited Prince Philip's carriage and ponies after his passing in April 2021. Her deep connection with him was evident in the quiet dignity she displayed during his funeral, where she paid tribute to his legacy. While Lady Louise has not taken on any official royal duties, her increasing presence at major events has not gone unnoticed. She played a key role during the mourning period for Queen Elizabeth II, joining her cousins in a silent vigil at Westminster Hall. Dressed in black, she stood beside James, Earl of Wessex, and the other royal grandchildren, demonstrating the same composure and sense of duty that had long been associated with her grandmother. The moment was widely regarded as a sign of her growing maturity and connection to the family's traditions. In September 2022, Louise began her studies at the University of St. Andrews, the same institution where Prince William met Catherine, Princess of Wales. Her decision to study English literature reflected her academic interests rather than any immediate plans for royal service. However, what raised eyebrows was her unexpected decision to join the University Officers Training Corps, a program designed to introduce students to military-style leadership and discipline. This choice led to speculation about whether she might eventually take on a more formal role within the royal family, potentially even following in the footsteps of her uncle, Prince Edward, who once served in the Royal Marines. James, Earl of Wessex, has been even more private than his sister. Born in December 2007, he was given the courtesy title of Viscount Severn at birth, a nod to his mother's Welsh heritage. His public appearances have been limited, though he has attended significant family events, including the funeral of Queen Elizabeth II and the coronation of King Charles III. Unlike his older cousins who grew up with the expectation of taking on royal duties, James has had little public exposure, making it difficult to predict what path he might choose as he approaches adulthood. One of the most pressing questions regarding James is whether he will eventually adopt the HRH title that he is technically entitled to. When Prince Edward was granted the title of Duke of Edinburgh in March 2023, Buckingham Palace clarified that it would be a lifelong title for Edward, rather than one that would pass to his son. This decision signaled a deliberate shift in how royal titles are handled, reinforcing King Charles III's vision of a streamlined monarchy. However, it did not change the fact that James, as a male-line grandchild of Queen Elizabeth II, remains eligible to be styled as His Royal Highness. Whether he chooses to adopt this title when he turns 18 in December 2025 remains an open question. His parents have always maintained that this will be a decision for him to make when the time comes. If he opts to use the title, it could indicate a willingness to take on a more active role within the royal family. However, given the continued push for a smaller working monarchy, it is equally possible that James will choose to maintain his current status, focusing on a private career while supporting the monarchy in a more limited capacity. The question of whether Lady Louise and James will play a more significant role in the royal family remains unanswered. With senior working royals such as Princess Anne and Prince Edward advancing in age, there is growing concern about the future of royal engagements. The departure of Prince Harry and Meghan Markle has also left gaps that need to be filled, especially in terms of public representation. If King Charles III or Prince William decide that additional support is needed, Lady Louise and James could be called upon to participate in more engagements. Even if they do not become full-time working royals, their presence at key events suggests that they will remain important figures within the family. Their involvement in official ceremonies, particularly in times of national mourning, indicates that they are considered valued members of the royal institution. As the monarchy continues to evolve, their status will likely depend on the needs of the crown and their own personal choices. For now, both Lady Louise and James remain at a crossroads. They have been raised with the freedom to choose their own paths, yet they are still connected to one of the most famous institutions in the world. Whether they step into a more public role or maintain their relative privacy, their futures will inevitably be shaped by the broader changes happening within the royal family. As discussions around the monarchy's future continue, the next few years will reveal whether their roles expand or remain as they are. As discussions about the future of Lady Louise Windsor and James, Earl of Wessex, continue, the broader question of royal titles and their significance within the monarchy remains a subject of debate. The granting, withholding, and revocation of titles have long been strategic moves by the Crown, reflecting both tradition and the changing needs of the institution. One of the most notable recent examples of this is the handling of the Duke of Edinburgh title, a prestigious dukedom deeply tied to the legacy of Prince Philip. When Prince Philip was granted the title of Duke of Edinburgh in 1947 upon his marriage to then Princess Elizabeth, it was widely understood that the title would eventually pass to his youngest son, Prince Edward. This expectation was reinforced in 1999 when Buckingham Palace publicly announced that it was the wish of both Prince Philip and Queen Elizabeth II for Edward to inherit the title upon his father's passing. However, due to the nature of royal peerage, the title did not automatically pass to Edward when Prince Philip died in April 2021. Instead, it was inherited by King Charles III, who held it until he ascended the throne in September 2022. For months, uncertainty surrounded the future of the dukedom. King Charles III, who had long advocated for a slimmed-down monarchy, was reportedly hesitant to grant the title to his brother, fearing that it would add to the number of senior royals with hereditary titles. However, after considerable public discussion and speculation, Buckingham Palace confirmed in March 2023 that Prince Edward would be made the Duke of Edinburgh. The announcement came on Edward's 59th birthday, finally fulfilling the wishes of his late parents. Yet this decision came with a major condition. Unlike traditional dukedoms, the title of Duke of Edinburgh would not be hereditary. This meant that upon Prince Edward's passing, the title would revert to the crown rather than passing to his son James, Earl of Wessex. The reasoning behind this decision aligns with King Charles III's efforts to ensure that titles remain concentrated within the direct line of succession. By keeping the title non-hereditary, the monarchy retains the ability to grant it to a future royal without further expanding the number of titled family members outside the immediate heirs. The choice to limit the Duke of Edinburgh title's inheritance was a significant departure from royal tradition. Historically, dukedoms granted to male members of the royal family were passed down to their eldest sons. This practice ensured continuity within the aristocracy and cemented the long-term influence of royal lineage. However, the non-hereditary status of this title signals a clear intent to prevent the expansion of royal peerage beyond what is necessary for the functioning of the monarchy. Some royal observers have speculated that this move leaves the title available for a future member of the direct line, possibly Prince Louis, the youngest son of Prince William and Catherine, Princess of Wales. Others suggest that it is a way of maintaining flexibility within the royal family's structure, ensuring that titles are granted strategically rather than by default. While there has been no official confirmation regarding the title's future, what is clear is that the decision reflects the evolving approach of the modern monarchy. For James, Earl of Wessex, the implications of this decision are notable. Had the title remained hereditary, he would have been expected to inherit the dukedom upon his father's passing, potentially taking on greater responsibilities within the royal family. Now, without the expectation of inheriting a dukedom, his future remains more uncertain. Whether he will choose to adopt an HRH title upon turning 18 or continue on a private path is a question that will only be answered in time. Lady Louise and James are not the only young royals who may be affected by these shifting title policies. As the monarchy continues to adjust to new realities, future decisions regarding royal titles may continue to be made on a case-by-case basis, rather than following strict historical precedent. The monarchy's approach under King Charles III suggests that titles will only be given when necessary, ensuring that the institution remains streamlined and adaptable to the modern world. As the royal family navigates these changes, the significance of tradition versus modernization remains at the heart of these decisions. Whether titles will continue to be selectively granted, or if further adjustments will be made in the future remains to be seen. What is certain is that every decision surrounding royal titles carries lasting implications, shaping the legacy and structure of the monarchy for generations to come. As the royal family adapts to the evolving expectations of the modern monarchy, decisions regarding titles and responsibilities continue to shape its future. With King Charles III's emphasis on a streamlined institution, each adjustment reflects a careful balance between honoring tradition and maintaining relevance in a changing world. The decision to limit the Duke of Edinburgh title's inheritance is just one example of this broader shift, signaling a monarchy that is increasingly focused on its core members, while ensuring that royal duties remain manageable for future generations. Lady Louise Windsor and James, Earl of Wessex, find themselves at the center of this transition. While their parents once sought to shield them from the obligations that come with royal status, the landscape of the monarchy has changed significantly since their births. The departure of Prince Harry and Meghan Markle, coupled with the aging of senior royals, has left gaps that may need to be filled in the years ahead. Whether Lady Louise and James will step into those roles remains uncertain, but their growing presence at key royal events suggests that they are being positioned for a more visible future. Ultimately, the evolution of royal titles is a reflection of the monarchy's ongoing efforts to remain relevant in an era where public scrutiny is higher than ever. The decisions made today will influence the shape of the royal family for decades to come. As the younger generation comes of age, the question remains whether they will embrace a greater role or continue along the path of privacy that was chosen for them. Their futures may still be undecided, but their connection to the crown ensures that they will remain figures of interest as the monarchy moves forward. With that, we have reached the end of today's video. If you have come this far with us, be sure to check out other videos on the channel.